Declaration of weakness. The Galactic Council chamber hung in low gravity, suspended above the neutral moon of Phoros 9. An artificial star cast light into the circular hall, where species from over 100 systems sat in ranks of curved seats. It was here that conflicts were cooled, borders were drawn, and reputations were forged or destroyed. And today, Earth was on trial. General Zarthan of the Threx Dominion, plated in bone-gray armor and draped in ceremonial chains, stood at the central dais. He loomed tall and serpentine, his 4 eyes flashing with contempt. His voice, deep and venomous, echoed through the chamber. "Let it be recorded," Zarthan growled, "that humanity is a race of cowards. For decades, they've hidden behind bureaucrats and treaties, sending silver-tongued diplomats instead of warriors. They build walls of words while real empires bleed for the stars." There were murmurs of uneasy agreement. Some species, those with recent memories of Earth's tactical silence during the Haluron crisis, nodded. Others, more cautious, remained still. From the Earth delegation platform, Ambassador Marcus Kane rose. He was a man of polished calm, clad not in armor, but in the slate-gray uniform of the United Planetary Accord. Clean-shaven, silver-haired, and unflinching, he didn't blink at the insult. "We do not apologize for choosing peace," Kane said evenly. "Humanity values diplomacy. We act with purpose, not passion." "Lies," Zarthan snapped. "You act with fear. While others expand, you retreat. You hoard your strength, like vermin hiding under rock. Where are your warriors, Kane? Do you even have them?" Kane tilted his head slightly. "Do you wish to test that, General?" The chamber fell silent. The Threx General bared his fangs and grinned. "I invite Earth to send its best. But do not send words. Send something with a spine. Prove you're not just parasites among predators." Kane stared at him. Then he slowly reached for his terminal, tapped in a string of coordinates, and sent a priority signal. Somewhere far from Phoros 9, a system received the code, Protocol Revenant, Initiate Deployment. He looked up. "One will come." There was a pause. Laughter erupted from the Threx delegation. Even a few members of the more martial species chuckled. "One," Zarthan boomed. "An insult. You send one." Kane gathered his things calmly. "You challenged us. You'll have your answer." The Earth delegation walked out without another word. Far above the dusty fringes of the Orion Spur, within a fortress moon orbiting Earth's defense perimeter, klaxons wailed. Deep beneath the surface, a sealed chamber hummed to life. Carbon-sealed stasis fluid drained away, revealing a figure submerged in shadow. Medical bots descended like insects scanning vitals, checking muscle memory, neural integrity, reflex latency. A single light flickered on overhead. Subject, Captain Elias Rourke. Designation, Black Lance Operative. Status, active. Mission protocol, engage/demonstrate/terminate threat per Directive 9A. He opened his eyes. In the days that followed, ripples spread across the galaxy. Reports of human war fleets mobilizing proved false. Earth remained eerily silent. No diplomat spoke. No embassies responded. The Threx Dominion, meanwhile, fortified its frontier worlds. Patrols doubled. Training exercises intensified. Zarthan himself broadcast a challenge to Earth on galactic-wide channels, demanding their champion face him in honorable combat or admit defeat. On Varnock 7, a fortress planet in Threx territory, scouts reported unusual readings from the upper atmosphere. A single atmospheric breach. High-velocity entry. No signatures of larger fleets. Then a report came in, a drop pod. Human make. Unmanned. No communication. No insignia. General Zarthan watched the footage from orbit, confused and furious. "One pod," he hissed. "Yes, Supreme General," said his adjutant nervously. "There's only one." "Then this will be a blood sport," Zarthan growled. "Find whoever they sent, and feed him to the storm beasts." On the ground, Elias Rourke stepped out of the steaming pod and onto the rain-slick surface of Varnock 7. He wore matte black armor, old, battle-worn, yet surgically maintained. No rank, no flag. A modified assault rifle hung across his back. A secondary weapon sat holstered, untouched. His helmet was off. He wanted them to see his face. He scanned the terrain, sulfur-laced air, hostile wildlife signatures, 6 heat markers approaching fast. The Threx response team. They were fast. Not fast enough. Rourke activated his combat drone with a flick of his wrist. It rose silently behind him like a hawk on the hunt. He checked his HUD. Objective, establish presence. Confirm galactic threat credibility. Neutralize opposition. He moved forward, boots sinking slightly into the mud, the rain hissing around him. He didn't run. He didn't hide. He walked toward the first target with deliberate, mechanical precision. Let them come. Let them learn what Earth had built in the silence of peace. Let them understand. Humanity had sent one, because one was all they needed. The lone deployment. The Threx Dominion hadn't known war in over a decade. Not real war, anyway. Their conquests had been swift and brutal, crushing minor systems with superior firepower and overwhelming numbers. They built their pride on dominance, and their soldiers believed themselves unstoppable. That illusion cracked within 6 hours of Elias Rourke's arrival. It started with Outpost Cora 9, a hardened perimeter station near the jungle belt of Varnock 7. Perched on a rise overlooking a swampy plain, its sentries detected the approaching figure through infrared scans. One humanoid, advancing on foot, the officer reported. No backup. Commander Corax, a veteran of 20 planetary campaigns, gave the order without hesitation. Eliminate. A gunner lined up a rail charge, zeroing in. Then the gunner's panel went dark. Then his skull imploded. Rourke didn't stop walking. He hadn't fired his rifle yet. The drone behind him, almost invisible against the dark sky, had eliminated the sentry with a hypervelocity shot. Silently, it repositioned above the second tower. 2 minutes later, Cora 9 burned. No alarm had gone off. No distress beacon transmitted. Rourke had disabled them first. From orbit, General Zarthan watched the security feeds go black in staggered intervals. He slammed a clawed fist into the console. What is happening? Sir, we have reports of explosions at Outpost Hellion and Outpost Rusk, both confirmed destroyed. By one man. The Threx fleet admiral stepped forward nervously. General, he's not fighting like a human. He's fighting like a virus. Rourke stood over the smoldering wreckage of Rusk's command center. He moved without pause, pausing only to reload or reprogram his drone. He spoke only once during the assault, recording a transmission via wristpad. To Galactic Council broadcast, Node 114A. From Operative Rourke, UPA Defense Command. Subject, formal rebuttal. General Zarthan said humanity are cowards. I came alone. Ask his dead how cowardly I am. He sent it. No encryption. He wanted them to hear it. Back in the Galactic Council chamber, the message played across every neutral species terminal. Gasps and silence followed. The Gaxari delegation leaned forward, whispering to one another. The Skell moved with uncharacteristic agitation. Ambassador Kane, watching from Earth's observation post, simply folded his hands. The proof is arriving, he said. By the third day, Threx Command had mobilized 2 battalions to intercept Rourke. Elite troops, twice-enhanced warriors in combat exoskeletons with flamethrowers, concussion cannons, and plasma blades. They surrounded him near the Red Basin, a rocky depression with visibility for kilometers. We have him isolated, their commander transmitted proudly. No escape possible. The battle lasted 17 minutes. From the Admiral's ship above, surveillance footage flickered and fed live into the war room. At first, it looked like a glitch, soldiers falling, armor shattering, gunfire dissipating. But then they saw the method. Rourke moved through the Threx lines with mathematical precision. Every motion economized. Every shot deliberate. No spray. No waste. His drone did not hover like a passive observer. It danced around him like a vengeful ghost, firing, deflecting, shielding. Rourke and his AI were not separate weapons. They were one. Threx soldiers screamed. Some dropped their weapons and ran. Those weren't spared. Rourke wasn't here for surrender. This wasn't politics. This was proof. General Zarthan couldn't contain his rage. He's an assassin. A trick. The humans cheated. They didn't break any rules, said his aide. You challenged them to send someone. They did. He's winning. Zarthan stared at the screen, fury freezing into calculation. Then he activated the council channel. Live Galactic broadcast begins. The feed showed the snarling face of General Zarthan. This ends now, he declared. Humanity's cowardice hides behind shadows and sabotage. No more. I, General Zarthan of the Threx Dominion, demand personal combat. Warrior to warrior. Back on Varnock, 7, Rourke, blood-splattered, silent, breathing steady. Receive the broadcast. He didn't flinch. He tapped his communicator. Transmission confirmed. Accepted. Coordinates. Zarthan sneered. Come to our capital. Alone. No drones. No tech. Just your flesh. Fine, but you'll die knowing this. You brought this on yourselves. The feed cut. In the council chambers, the mood shifted. The humans, who had long been regarded as soft diplomats, cautious isolationists, had just rewritten the rules of fear. And they hadn't done it with fleets or bombs. They did it with one man. Ambassador Kane smiled faintly. He's not just a soldier, he whispered. He's our answer. War in a man's shadow. The city of Carvor, the Threx Dominion's capital on Varnock, 7, was a fortress sculpted from obsidian and bloodsteel. Towers spiked toward the stormy sky, each carved with the names of 1,000 battles. At the heart of it all rose the Grand Arena, an ancient monument where the Dominion's greatest warriors had earned their glory. Now, for the first time in centuries, it would host a duel not between Threx, but between alien and Threx general. The arena's seats filled with warriors, nobles, and high command. Hollow drones hovered above, transmitting the spectacle across the galaxy. This was not just combat. This was a message. Deep below the city, Elias Rourke sat on a stone bench in a steel-holding cell. His armor had been removed, per the terms. His weapons confiscated. He wore only a black combat shirt, reinforced pants, and boots. And scars. His body was a map of pain, burns, knife wounds, plasma scoring. A story etched in skin, where every mark was a lesson. Across from him, a Threx guard studied him with open contempt. You really came alone? The guard asked. Rourke didn't answer. You've killed many, the Threx sneered. But General Zarthan, he is bred for war. You were born. He was engineered. Rourke looked up, his eyes like storm blasts. So was I. The cell door bust. Time. The walk to the arena was slow and deliberate. The tunnels echoed with jeers, roars, and the clashing of weapons. Threx crowds lined the balconies above, throwing curses and spitting at him. But Rourke's gait never changed. Unshaken, centered, he emerged into sunlight. Wind howled through the open coliseum. The arena floor was a black circle of ash and sand. Across from him, General Zarthan stood in ceremonial warplate, scaled, blood-red, and pulsing with biotech nodes. Twin energy axes gleamed in each clawed hand. You die here, ape, Zarthan roared. Your species will crawl back into its mud holes, broken. Rourke said nothing. He didn't raise his fists. He just looked the general in the eyes and smiled. The duel began with a blast of the war horn. Zarthan surged forward like a predator, unnaturally fast for something his size. His axes sang through the air, aiming to cleave the human in two. Rourke ducked the first strike, sidestepped the second. Sand exploded beneath his boots as he rolled away, grabbing a handful and flinging it into Zarthan's eyes. The crowd hissed. Dirty tactics, someone growled. But this was survival. This was war. Zarthan bellowed and swung blindly. Rourke moved like smoke, landing short strikes to the ribs, the side of the knee, the exposed joints in Zarthan's armor. Nothing fatal yet. Fight like a warrior. Zarthan snarled. Rourke finally spoke. I'm not here to entertain you. I'm here to end you. Zarthan adapted quickly. He stopped swinging wildly, taking a defensive stance, waiting to counter. Rourke shifted gears, no longer dodging but pressing, pushing, harrying. He used his smaller size, slipping inside the arc of the axes, using elbows and knees, targeting pressure points. He drew blood. Real blood. Threx soldiers in the stands began to murmur. Their general, bleeding? Struggling? Rourke caught an opening, drove his fist into Zarthan's throat. The general staggered. Then the tide turned. Zarthan grabbed him by the chest and hurled him across the arena. Rourke crashed into the stone wall, breath ripped from his lungs. The crowd roared. Zarthan stalked forward, one eye swelling shut, rage burning bright. I will break your back and feed your bones to the worms. Rourke coughed, blood leaking from his mouth. He stood, shoulders squared. You'll need better lines than that. Zarthan roared and charged. The axes rose, and Rourke stepped in, right into the danger zone. He drove a punch into the energy node of Zarthan's left gauntlet. It overloaded. The axe discharged violently, backfiring into the general's own arm. Sparks flew. Zarthan screamed. Rourke grabbed the dropped axe and buried it in the general's knee. Zarthan collapsed with a howl of fury and pain. His other axe swung upward, caught Rourke in the ribs. Blood flew. The human dropped to one knee. The crowd stood, breathless. Zarthan lunged again, but Rourke twisted, reversed the axe's handle, and jammed it into the general's open jaw. Not a kill, but close. He mounted the general, pummeling him with fists until his faceplate cracked, until the beast beneath it bled and wept and gasped. Say it. Rourke growled between punches. Say what you said. Zarthan spat blood. Humans are. Crack. Another strike. Zarthan coughed. He didn't finish. He passed out. The horn blew again. Silence fell across the arena. Rourke stood, chest heaving, covered in blood, some his, most not. He looked into the hovering camera drone. This is humanity's answer. We do not start wars, but we finish them. The council transmission ended in stunned silence. One by one, species began to understand. Earth had sent not an army, not a fleet. They sent proof. Proof that humans were not weak. They were measured, and when they chose violence, they didn't need more than one. Verdict by blood. General Zarthan did not die in the arena. He awoke days later in a med vault, jaw wired, lungs half collapsed, his right arm amputated at the elbow from energy feedback. The pain was not the worst part. The worst part was the silence. The halls outside his chamber were empty. The Dominion High Command had retreated into hiding. The Grand Fleet was grounded. Communications from allied species had gone dark. In the span of one duel, everything Zarthan believed about war, honor, and fear had shifted. And at the center of it stood a human. Not a general, not a commander, just one soldier. Elias Rourke stood on the deck of the Threx flagship Vengeance's Echo, now under human authority. He faced a panel of Dominion War leaders, their faces hollow with disbelief. You have two options, Rourke said. Surrender terms are uploaded. Comply, and Earth leaves you alone. Violate them, he tapped a finger on his compad. And I won't be the one they send next time. He left them in silence. No one spoke. No one followed. Back on the surface of Varnock 7, thousands of Threx soldiers discarded their weapons. Drones flew overhead, marking the surrender sites. Hospitals reopened under Earth's medical programs. Satellites were reprogrammed. The Dominion fell, not to invasion or orbital bombardment, but to the raw psychological force of a single man's war. At the Galactic Council's next emergency session, Earthseat was no longer seen as decorative. Ambassador Kane stood before a silent hall. A massive screen replayed stills from the duel. Rourke atop Zarthan, battered but unyielding. The Threx crowd, 1,000 strong, falling silent as pride collapsed under the truth. Kane didn't smile. He didn't gloat. He only spoke. Humanity was called a coward's race. We didn't argue. We didn't protest. We didn't posture. We simply responded with clarity. He paused. We value peace not because we are afraid to fight, but because we know exactly what happens when we do. Let this be a warning. Earth is not weak. Earth is patient. Every representative knew it. The message was not just for the Threx. It was for everyone. Rourke stood on a shuttle pad days later, ready for extraction. His body was still healing. The arena wounds would scar, but he had stopped caring about pain long ago. A junior officer approached with a sealed file. "Sir, return orders. You're going home." "Earth?" Rourke asked, voice hoarse. "Yes. Deactivation protocol. Your cycle is complete." Rourke nodded. He didn't feel relief. He didn't feel pride. He just felt done. The shuttle ascended into the dark. As it broke Atmo, Elias Rourke looked down at the quiet planet beneath him. Once ruled by arrogance, now humbled. He closed his eyes. Sleep came swiftly. In a black site installation buried deep beneath the Alps, a stasis chamber hissed open. Rourke stepped inside, eyes forward. No ceremony, no applause, only the quiet hum of machinery wrapping around him again. A small AI voice spoke through the chamber speakers. "Welcome back, Operative 9A. Stand by for deep stasis. Await future activation." The pod sealed shut. His war was over. Until the next call. One cycle later, Galactic year 2974.12. Council observation log excerpt, species, human. Following the Varnock event, Threx Dominion surrendered all offensive claims. 3 minor empires entered non-aggression pacts with Earth for declared neutrality out of fear. 1. The Orlan hegemony publicly dissolved its war ministry. The term Rourke Protocol is now coded into over 2,000 diplomatic AI frameworks as a last-stage deterrence clause. Human ambassadorial presence is now honored at every session. No military action has been taken against Earth since the incident. Summary conclusion. Humanity requires no army, because if they send one, it is already too late.